Believe it or not, 24% of divorces are a result of abuse, which is really sad. General incompatibility, financial stress, substance abuse and gambling, underestimation of what marriage entails. And because of that, they don't necessarily sort for the right kind of person. Hi, welcome to Sabrasays. I'm Dr. Madsen. I'm a clinical psychologist with over 30 years of experience. And today I'm going to talk about divorce and 4 wonderful strategies in learning how to cope with divorce. So first of all, divorce is fairly common in America. It's about 40 to 50% of marriages end in divorce, and common reasons include, I was reading a little bit about stats, but the most common reason is a lack of commitment, along with infidelity. Believe it or not, 24% of divorces are a result of abuse, which is really sad. General incompatibility, financial stress, substance abuse and gambling, and also, and this one I think is really important, where people that get into marriage have a general misunderstanding and maybe underestimation of what marriage entails. And because of that, they don't necessarily sort for the right kind of person when they're dating. Like they may be thinking more about attractiveness, or I don't know, there are a lot of reasons, but usually it's attractiveness when we're first meeting people. And that doesn't always work out well in a marriage. So a lot of people end up, getting divorced at some point. And I can relate with this. I am divorced and remarried, and I can attest that divorce is a really, really hard thing to go through. It just involves every aspect of your life. It's kind of the end of a dream for people. I think most people go into marriage with good intentions. And so, it's giving up that dream that you have, all the work and investment. You're usually combining 2 families, so it involves other people, it involves children, it involves homes and finances. It's just, it really impacts people on a global level, and it is really hard. So most people that go through a divorce experience some level of adjustment-related depression or anxiety, and a lot of people end up reaching out for help and therapy to help through the process. So in my own experience and with working with people in therapy, there's a few nuggets that I have felt really seem to hit home for people that I want to share with everybody, because I think it would be really helpful, especially if you're going through a divorce or a separation right now. So first of all, sometimes people think that because they love somebody, that means they should be together. And they really cling on to this, once they get separated, then they start questioning it and thinking, but I really love them. And, and that's what really matters. And this is the reframe to that, especially if the relationship is really unhealthy, is that you can love somebody and not be with them. You can love somebody and let them go because the relationship is unhealthy and it's not working. So just because you love somebody doesn't mean that you have to be with them. And that is a really helpful concept, because it kind of grounds you and allows for the ability to still love somebody just because you're divorced. Like, you obviously loved each other enough to get married at some point, build a life together, possibly have children. It doesn't have to be hateful. There doesn't have to be a ton of resentment. And I really think that in most cases, there's love there. And people have a problem with kind of acknowledging that or admitting it. that, yeah, I'm divorced from that person, but I still love them, just in a different way now. It's just not in like a married way. It may feel more like a sibling or just like a family member kind of way. And that's healthy. It'll certainly help getting through the process. It'll help being able to communicate with that person if you're not kind of struggling with that or feeling a lot of resentment. So that's the first reframe. The second one is this feeling that because you miss somebody, that you think you should be with somebody because you miss them, because you're lonely. So loneliness is really hard. And in moments when people are really lonely, they start kind of rationalizing and minimizing, what happened in their relationship. And they might start thinking, I just really miss them. Maybe that, means that I should be with them. And here's the possibility that is helpful. It's possible that you don't actually miss the person, that you miss the feeling of being with the person, that you miss the feeling of security, the feeling of support, the feeling of having somebody to come home to at the end of a day, that being a part of a bigger family. Because in most cases, if you're going through a divorce, things went south enough that you're going through a divorce. And it's possible that you're not actually missing the person, because if it was that great, you'd be with them. Do you really want to go back with them? Like most times, if you really are honest with yourself and you say, do I really want to go back with that person? No, I don't want to get back with them. I just miss that feeling of, of security and commitment, which is totally natural. So differentiating those feelings can kind of, ground you also, and prevent people from heading back into something that's really unhealthy just out of loneliness. The third nugget, let me see here. This one's really good. Okay, so the animosity with the end of relationships leads to a lot of blaming, where people are saying, the divorce is all her fault, all his fault, because they did this, they did that. And the reality is like sometimes people do horrible things, right? But this is the thing. A relationship is a dynamic. And both people are involved. Both people decided to get into this relationship. And so both people hold some responsibility in that relationship. And I would even venture to say, I'm not ever saying abuse is okay, but when somebody is in a relationship with somebody that, starts to become abusive, they have a choice to leave. And by choosing to stay, they have some responsibility in the issue within the relationship. I'm not blaming the victim. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm just saying it's a dynamic that happens between two people, and there's some responsibility there. Also, when we first meet somebody, there's usually tons of red flags, right? Like when it's not like a good situation. But in the beginning of a relationship, we kind of minimize it. We make excuses for people and we head into it. And then later on, it becomes intolerable. There's some responsibility that we have in ourselves for not heeding those warnings, like there's that saying, when somebody shows you who they are, believe it. We didn't believe it. We wanted to believe something else. We wanted to turn that person into something that they weren't. And you can't do that to somebody. People just are who they are. And it's not fair to hate somebody for being who they are. So if you're truly honest with yourself about the situation and the relationship, and you own your part of the responsibility in it, there will be less animosity, there will be less blaming, and because of that, you won't feel so angry and hurt, and it will help you heal and be able to learn from the relationship and move on. Otherwise, if you're just blaming that person for who they were and what they did, you're not learning anything. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna go into the next relationship repeating the same pattern again, because you didn't learn anything about yourself through it. So I know that this one is really hard. It requires a lot of self-reflection. It requires brutal honesty to yourself. And that's not an easy thing to do for anybody. So sometimes, it requires, there's support groups and, or even therapy to kind of work through that. And the last little nugget is to understand that going through a divorce or even just the end of a committed relationship is truly a loss, and people grieve. It is no different than grieving for somebody who died. And there's that joke out there that sometimes it's worse because you have to still deal with the person. And if you have children, it's for like another, pretty much your whole life. Because even after 18, you still got to deal with each other, when your children get married and so forth. And it's a loss. So if you have that understanding, you give yourself the grace to have the time to heal. And to feel all the feels, to go through the stages of depression and anger and maybe some bargaining, and eventually, come to terms with it and have some acceptance so that you can move forward. And also allow your ex to move forward and kind of have some happiness for them. Genuine, if they have another relationship, they get remarried or whatever, to be able to be like, what, I hope that, this is a better match for them and that it works out, to want the best for that person. And to kind of release all of that anger and, sometimes hatred and resentment, because carrying that is not helping anybody. And you can't move forward if you're carrying all of that. So there's 4 great little nuggets for people to kind of think about. You can love somebody without being with them. It's easy to mistake, a feeling for missing a person when it's really just a feeling. That, people have equal responsibility in a relationship, and it's important to kind of be honest with yourself about that and not just blame, and to allow yourself to grieve and go through the process and heal in a effective way, so that you're not just going into the next relationship and repeating the same pattern. So I hope that this has been helpful for any of you going through a relationship loss or a divorce. There is other help out there. If you are interested, there is therapy and there are support groups. So thank you very much for watching. And remember, we're all a work in progress.